This is something that like 99% of bands get wrong. They release the song and then they start scrambling to make a music video and it's not very planned out, and then they just drop it because they can't risk waiting any longer because the buzz is dying out on their song and yada yada yada. You want to get this right.
This is the Self-Recording Band Podcast, the show where we help you make exciting records on your own, wherever you are, DIY style. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Self-Recording Band Podcast. My name is Malcom. This is a bit of a different episode. We are going to share with you an episode from my other podcast, which is called Your Band Sucks at Business. We thought it would be relevant for our listeners on this podcast because everybody on this podcast is recording and releasing music. But if you want to successfully release music, you have to handle the business of being in a band. And that is exactly what we talk about on YBS. I think it'll be valuable to you. And this episode in particular was very popular. It is called What You Need to Do Before Releasing New Music. And it's all about generating release assets, which are all of the things you'll need to, post online and send out either before you release or after. But the important thing is that you have to get them done and made and generated before you release it. Ideally, even before you announce it, in my opinion. This is something that like 99% of bands get wrong. They release the song and then they start scrambling to make a music video and it's not very planned out, and then they just drop it because they can't risk waiting any longer because the buzz is dying out on their song and yada yada yada. You want to get this right. So I think you'll enjoy this. This is kind of like the second half. It's like the perfect partner podcast for the Self-Recording Band. And if you enjoy it, I think you should just go over and subscribe to Your Band Sucks at Business, because we have, 80 or 90 episodes so far of topics just like this. I think you'll find it very valuable. And I just want to say thank you for listening to the Self-Recording Band podcast, and to anybody that picked up our mixing course, Mixes Unpacked. Thank you very much. I'm super stoked to talk to you about that and how you're enjoying it, and to meet up with you for the Q&A, which may or may not have already happened by the time this episode goes out. I'm not too sure. But anyways, enjoy the episode. Benny is got tons on his plate, so he's sending this one out. And this is a pre-recorded one that we released a while back with myself and my co-host on that podcast, Marcus Manhas, who was the drummer in my band and also drums for a ton of other crazy acts, like Current Swell, for example, is a very successful Canadian band that he drums for. All right. Enjoy, and I look forward to hearing how you liked the episode. Hello and welcome to Your Band Sucks at Business, a podcast on the business of running a band. My name is Malcom. I am joined today by my wonderful co-host, current ticket holder to see John Mayer, Marcus Manhas.
What is up, everybody? Yes, I am a ticket holder for John Mayer, and just in case you're wondering, I am going to see John Mayer in Toronto.
He's not just going to scalp the tickets off.
Yeah, that was the plan, but Malcolm told me I can't do that, so
it's frowned upon.
I guess I'll go and watch him. I don't even like John Mayer.
Yeah, I actually have 2 extra tickets to see Elton John, and I got to figure out what my plan is there. I don't know why. I just kind of figured, like, somebody will want to go.
How many did you buy?
8.
Oh my God.
I went pretty big.
Yeah. Holy
But 3 pairs are taken care of, so it's just the 1 extra pair. I'll find somebody.
Oh, yeah. It won't be hard to find someone who wants to go and see Elton. Yeah. Old Elton.
It's just a weird decision, though, because I had the 3 couples lined up. And I was like, we only need 6.
You know what's funny? I used to do that with tickets. Yeah. I'd be like, well, I'm just going to buy 6. Yeah. Even though it's just, me and Katie going, I'll buy 6 of them. And then actually with John Mayer last year, I think I bought like something like that. And then at the very end, someone was going to take them. And then like the day before, they were like, oh, I can't go.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I was like, first of all, I'm not friends with that person anymore. Well, I'm just kidding. I kind of am, but that was not cool. And then so I ended up just being like, well, if anyone wants a John Mayer ticket, come to Vancouver and I'll give you a John Mayer ticket.
You forgot to message me, apparently.
No, I did. You were like, I hate John Mayer. John Mayer sucks, dude. Your Bodies in Wonderland's trash. Like, he's a pop star. No, I'm just kidding. Malcolm didn't say any of that. But anyway, yeah, I'm pumped. I just bought them on the way over here, kind of. I bought them in Malcolm's driveway. Like, Malcolm, I'm busy. I'm buying tickets.
I literally came out into the driveway to like tell you to park somewhere else, and you just sat there looking at your phone.
I just gave you one figure. Look, 1 second.
I was like, what is happening? This is weird.
Buying tickets.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's talk about. Actually, there's a segue here. I'm not going to use it. It's too bad. All right.
Oh, God.
So last episode we talked about generating assets for a tour and getting stuff together that you need before you go on tour. And this episode is going to be similar, but it is generating all the assets you need before you release music, which is equally as important, if not more so important. So this is all the prep work you can do before you release music. And ideally, a lot of these things are stuff that you can, like, we're going for like the impactful things that really matter. That's it's like a checklist of things that will really make a difference, we think.
Yeah, the bigger things that, and a lot of these things are probably things that you're going to do anyway. But there's a lot of things in here that I think people forget about until the song is released. Like release day, you're like, oh, I totally forgot that I'm supposed to do that. Or if you're thinking about how to promote the song after it's already released, you're kind of maybe behind the ball a little bit. So hopefully generating these assets and thinking about them ahead of releases will just help. You won't be missing anything once it actually the time comes for the song to go live.
Totally. So this is actually the last point on our list, but I want to mention it at the beginning as well. And that is that you don't get to choose a release date until you've done all this work. We'll come back to that again, but just like plant that in your head now. The release date is the last thing you're choosing. And you know what actually isn't on here, Marcus, that needs to be the first step? Record the music.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, yeah. I guess that's true. Record a song.
Yeah. It has to be finished, recorded, mixed, mastered, approved by everyone. Like, it's done. You're not going back asking for more revisions. It's a finished product that you have possession of. That needs to be your first asset. And obviously that is the most important asset. Well, we're thinking of that, actually, it's drawing to mind that I personally think it's really silly not to have an instrumental version of the song ready as well.
Yeah, for sync.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you should definitely have instrumental or vocal up, instrumental, stems if you can have them.
Yeah.
If you can get stems, it's even better because, a lot of sync. Obviously, we talk about sync on this podcast, so you kind of already know that you want to be trying to get sync.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just makes everything so much faster. And man, nothing worse than someone being like, we need a quick turnaround on the sync. Like, can you sign it in 4 hours and can you get us the assets within the same amount of time? And you're like, oh, I don't even know where the instrumental is. So
Totally.
Can I get back to you tomorrow? And then you miss out.
And if you don't have it and you're asking your engineer for it at that point, you're not going to get it in 4 hours.
Yeah.
So have at least an instrumental. It's really, really easy to get that. And I personally think getting stems, and there's other alt versions you can get as well that I think are totally worth it. Just be aware that depending on your arrangement for how you are paying for your album, you might have to pay for that time.
Yeah.
But it's so worth it.
It's definitely worth it. Yeah, it's definitely worth it if you're going after sync, and you should be going after sync. So yeah, good call on that.
Yeah. But not only just for sync, it's also good for promo.
Yeah.
You don't want to give away the chorus, but you want to have the music in the background of like a promo video or something like that. You hide the lyrics or play through videos for a thing for a while. It could be again. Maybe they still are. I have no idea.
Yeah, I think in some genres they probably still are, I imagine. Anything technical.
Yeah. It's also like something cool you can give to, like, if you have a Patreon or something. It's kind of a value add for sure. So the music, that's your number one asset. Absolutely. After that, you have to start thinking about stuff like album artwork or single artwork, depending on what you're releasing, and getting that together again in advance of choosing a date. We still haven't chosen a date. This has to all be coming in earlier. I know we've talked about this a little bit. We're both fans of hiring professionals for this stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, album artwork's one that I see lots of bands slapping together at the last minute, which can, I mean, if that works for you, I guess that's fine. But I'm thinking here, like, you want your single or your album to be ingested into Spotify and like your DSPs really early on, like at least a month in advance of the release. So you, of course, need to have your album artwork and your single artwork at least a month in advance. Yeah. Anything that you need to upload the single to Spotify and whatever, obviously that has to be done very, very early on. So that's the thing. You see bands releasing a single in like 2 weeks and they're like, oh shit, we need single art because we need to upload it. And to me, I think like at that point, you should probably just push back the release like a month and just get everything in order. But yeah, album artwork's a big one that people leave to the end, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
And I just think that's a big mistake.
Yeah, and don't forget your like pre-release marketing branding stuff. You need like, probably art for your socials that is in the theme of what you're going to be releasing and what the whole image is for your whole new release. So the smart band would be thinking about that while they're recording.
Yeah.
So that they can start implementing as soon as they decide to kind of start going public with this release.
Yeah. And getting ideas during the recording part. Like a lot of bands are doing that in the studio. If there's, if the drummer's done their parts, then you can start thinking about these release assets. The earlier the better, really. So
definitely. Yeah. And so album artwork, single artwork is kind of the same conversation there. Get on it early. An EPK. What's an EPK, Marcus?
An electronic press kit.
Yeah.
Yeah, an electronic version of the old paper press kits that used to get sent around. Now we can just do it in a PDF.
Mm-hmm.
How nice is that? But EPKs are still useful. I think a lot of people think that they're kind of 2010 era and no one really cares about them, but they are very useful. And the thing is, once you start releasing and once you start hiring like a promoter, a radio promoter, or a publicist, or any sort of team member who needs assets from you, if you have an EPK that already has all this stuff in it, it's so easy to just send them a link to your EPK.
Totally.
And an EPK doesn't have to be hosted on your website. It can be a Google Drive folder or a Dropbox folder that just has all the assets in it, like promos, bios, really anything. The more the better, honestly. If it's nicely labeled and laid out for people, it just makes everything so much easier. And even, with the releases that we're doing right now with management, we're always getting requests for promo assets. People are like, oh, can you send over this list of things? And for shows, same thing. Can you send this list of things? But if you already have it in an EPK, it's perfect.
Totally.
You just send them a link. It's done. So we've already done that work. That's an asset it's gonna pay for itself 20 times over in the first week of a release.
Right. Yeah. And what a difference maker if you're just thinking even about like submitting to festivals and stuff. If your submission includes an EPK that shows everything good about your band that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Versus somebody that doesn't have that, it's just, like if somebody reads that, they're going to know way more about your band and there's just a better connection.
Along with an EPK, one sheets are still a thing.
Right.
One sheets are really, really effective if they're done well. And for anyone who's listening doesn't know what a one sheet is, literally one page of an EPK essentially. So your highlights are on one page and they're usually pretty graphic intensive. They look really, really nice, but they have all your highlights on one accessible page that it's hyperlinked. It's got maybe a couple of your music videos. It's got your quick stats on it, a quick shortened bio. Mm-hmm. You don't want to just drown them in a huge ass 5,000 word bio. But yeah, it's a one sheet. It's just one sheet with all your highlights on it. And think about like booking agents and buyers. They're getting so many people and so many agents pitching to them all the time. They don't really have time to go through a whole EPK sometimes. So a one sheet is great. It's basically just the best of the best, really easy to digest and to, pick out the information that a buyer might want. So those are still really useful. I think it's definitely worth making one or getting one made if that's not your thing. You can definitely hire someone to make it. Yeah, they're very useful. Another asset.
Agreed. Even though it's not like a public facing asset, it's totally a fantastic thing to have.
Yeah, good call. Don't post that on your social.
Yeah, it's not for your fans.
Yeah.
It's for the industry folks. Something that also doesn't get started soon enough, I think, is music videos.
Yeah, or any sort of video content. Yeah.
Really, you can start a music video as soon as you have like a reference rough mix of your song.
Yeah.
You can just get it bounced from the start of the session so that there's no sync issues down the road kind of thing. And it doesn't have to be mixed. It just has to be a rough mix. And you can work with that and get started at least like planning the concept and stuff for your video and get that kind of squared away. And that's another thing that's kind of always rushed and always trying to think of an idea at the last minute.
Yeah. And trying to contact video producers at the last minute and be like, can we get a music video in like 3 weeks? And they're like, most of them are like, if they're good, they're going to be busy.
Totally.
And a lot of them are booking, well, I don't know, a lot longer in advance than that. So yeah, the more time you give anybody who's part of this release, the better. And the earlier you think about things like music videos and graphics and things like that, the better quality they're going to be for the most part. It just makes it easier. The more time you have to sit and think about the music video and to kind of plan it, the smoother it's going to go.
Totally.
And the better the concept usually.
An interesting thought here that just occurred is that the further you get in your career, and the higher level of caliber of like videographers and stuff you're hiring, the longer that wait time gets.
Yeah.
The more lead time you need to get stuff done, because they're larger companies, they're busier and booked further in advance. When you get into high budget videos, they have to schedule like a truck full of gear and a bunch of staff to come and do grip and lighting and stuff and electrics and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. And there's nothing worse than being that band who's like, oh, I know you're busy. Think you could squeeze us in? And you don't want to be the video that was squeezed in either, because it's probably going to be a piece of shit.
Probably will be.
Maybe not. Maybe it won't be. But I just think it's more, just less stress for you during a release is always a good thing. And planning ahead is gonna ease the stress.
Yeah, absolutely. Then after that would be lyric video. It's just another form of video content. These days, everybody's recommending at least 2 forms of video content, I think.
Yeah.
So, have a music video, do a lyric video. Lyric videos are really cheap and consumers love them, even if most musicians seem to hate them. I don't get this divide, but it's there, it's real.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I hate them. But I do think they're useful. And but that's a nice one. Lyric videos, for the most part, can be pretty hands-off. You're not, there's nothing, you don't really need to be involved in it. You can just sort of delegate it to someone and have it done and not even really think about it till it comes in. That's a great thing about lyric videos or any content like that. A music video, for the most part, you're going to be there. If you're not in the video, you're still going to want to be there to make sure everything's, going the way you want it to. But lyric videos are an easy one to do without having to spend too much effort.
Yeah, I mean, I remember we did a big budget music video, a fairly big budget music video for one song and a lyric video for the same song, and our lyric video outperformed.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's frustrating.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But it's also awesome. People liked it, so that's great. And, you could look at that as a win as well. Like, okay, that only cost us $400 instead of 10,000.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Good to know, right? But that's not going to be the case for everything, obviously.
Yeah.
And a little less artistically satisfying for us.
Yeah. I just don't like lyric videos. But you know what? That one did well. Yeah. Any video content, plan ahead.
Totally.
Another overlooked one, hilariously, Spotify Canvas. And I say hilariously because it might be the easiest one to do.
Right.
Especially if you already have. I find that the best way to do them is if you have a music video or some sort of video content already, just take an 8-second clip of it and crop it, to portrait or 16:9 vertical, and that's it. They're so easy to do, and hardly anyone does them.
Right. Yeah, and Spotify did release. I'm not even going to say the numbers, but apparently it's a pretty substantial increase in listenership. Yeah,
which I don't really get.
I think it's retention.
Right, people want it. Yeah, okay.
They it shows up and they don't click skip.
Yeah, fair enough. It's because it's interesting to watch the canvas. Yeah, that's true.
So little visual stimulant. Yeah,
stimulation. Yeah, they're really simple. And the nice thing is everyone can do them now. Whereas before you had to be basically invited into Canvas. It was like a beta thing, and only big artists had access to it. Now anyone can do it, which is good and bad because there's probably a lot of crappy Canvas out there.
There probably is. Actually, I think DistroKid has a little creation tool.
Oh, does it?
I think so.
Oh.
They have a little single artwork creation tool, I'm pretty sure too. I would love to interview somebody from DistroKid.
We should just reach out to them.
We should.
Yeah, okay. Spotify Canvas. Done.
Yeah. And that's another form of video content. We didn't do this, but there's also live performance video stuff as well, right?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. That's
just more cool. Video content.
Live streams.
Yeah.
That's not really an asset you can make, I guess, but.
The other thing I was thinking about while we're on the subject of Spotify is pitching to editors. That's definitely a bit of an asset because you can kind of you don't want to reuse the exact same pitch, but once you've written one, you can kind of use it for your next ones and you have a better idea of how they work. But that's why I was saying you really want to have your song ingested into your DSPs early, because if you're pitching it to, Apple and Spotify, which you should be doing, they're going to want it a month in advance of the single because they have such a backlog to go through of pitches now that everyone can pitch, right? So I think that's a really important one also, is just to make sure your stuff is ready to go early, and you're getting your pitches in as early as you can also. So yeah, and yeah, like I said, once you've written one of the pitches, they're fairly short, the actual part where you can write. But once you've written that, you have some sort of a template that you can use for future ones, and you can pitch in 5 minutes once you've done it once.
Totally.
It's quick.
Yeah. If you haven't already, go check out episode 49, Submit Hub, a case study, which detailed Marcus using Submit Hub to promote some songs and having some really great results. That we talk about like the reusable aspects of doing a release strategy like that a lot in that episode, and how you can just each time take what you've learned and what you've made to get further with the next release.
Yeah.
Great episode. And maybe we'll jump to that whole promo campaigns part of our list right now, actually.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, there's the submitting for playlists. If you're doing something like pretty big scale, like a radio campaign or something like that, that conversation takes months.
Yeah. You usually once you kind of get your rough mixes back, before you even thought of what single you're going to release, you're in contact with your radio team and publicists too.
Yep.
Because that's the thing, you need to coordinate releases with them also, especially if they're busy with another rock band or whatever genre you're in. If there's someone else in your genre that's also being pitched by that PR company, or if there's another rock band who's doing a single at radio at the same time as you, the radio company is going to want to stagger those.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of at their mercy in a sense. The one thing with radio though is you don't necessarily have to, the radio campaign and the actual release of the single don't necessarily have to coincide with each other.
Right.
You don't want them super far apart, but they don't have to be the exact same day. So there's that. But yeah, if you have a song coming out in 2 weeks and you reach out to like a radio promotion company, you say, hey, we have this single coming out, can you work it? They might be able to do it, but it's a shot in the dark really at that point.
And honestly, just even getting like the connection made so that they're willing to work with you, it takes long as well.
Yeah.
So like if it's an existing relationship, maybe you got a chance at that, but otherwise don't bank on it.
Yeah.
I want to talk people through what you just said and explaining why they might not want to jump on working your song at a certain time. To give you like a super literal example, imagine that you were a rock band, modern rock band, and you're saying, hey, we got a song going to radio August 1st. Let's do it. The Foo Fighters also have a song coming out on August 1st. Even if they said yes and they pushed you, but they're also pushing the Foo Fighters, nobody's going to play your song. Like that, the rock station's going to take the Foo Fighters song, right?
Yeah.
It's against your best interest to take a spot that's already taken. And then also just like imagine being a radio music director and getting the email from this radio promoter that's like, hey, new Foo Fighters song. Also, there's this one. And
yeah.
Or like, is it two separate emails? It's like, okay, you've already emailed me. Like, how much time am I giving you for consideration? So yeah, that's kind of the thing. You have to coordinate with your plan or with your team. Sorry, you have to coordinate with your team, and that they're the experts in that field as well. You should be asking for their feedback. And
the other thing with radio too is if you're in Canada, there's CanCon, which is Canadian content, and a certain amount of music that's played on radio has to be Canadian content. So that's one thing that radio promoters are aware of and looking at is how much CanCon is out there right now. If there's a backlog of CanCon at radio, if there's like 5 or 6 songs from, the biggest Canadian radio rock bands, and you're trying to release your single around that same time, the chances are so slim of you even getting a spin at that point, because these, the radio stations, their focus is on these big CanCon bands. Mm-hmm. And so that makes sense. So you kind of need to talk to them, and you need to figure out when there's going to be a little bit of a break in the CanCon. And, they'll advise you when they think, of course, for them, they want the best chance of success, possible. So for them, they're going to try to choose, when there's a lull in CanCon or when there's not like a massive release coming out where, they want you to stand a chance at radio. So yeah, talking to these teams early on is super important. And it's something that you should start, when you're getting rough mixes or basically as early as you can. You want to start making the connections if you don't already have a working relationship with radio teams and publicists.
Absolutely. So yeah, I guess you just kind of mentioned publicists as well. It's the same deal.
Yeah.
They need to be in the conversation very early. And again, they're experts. You should be getting their feedback on what they think as well is a good idea for like a release date and plan. And even song, I think, is kind of a consideration that you should loop people in on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Especially radio promoters will want to have a say on the song.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, they're the ones who are pushing it. And publicists are going to also tell you what assets they want. You know, they're going to take a look at your promos and your bio and the stuff that you have to promote yourself. And they're going to tell you either, yeah, this is great, but maybe let's get some more of this. They're going to give you their opinion. And it's really important to have that opinion moving forward because they're experts in the field.
Right.
And they know what's got the best chance of working. And actually, a publicist that we've been working with lately is very involved in the release schedule.
Cool.
Which is awesome. It's really cool because and it makes sense, right? I mean, he's pushing, him and his team, they're pushing the single, they're pushing the release. So it's in their best interest to be involved and to give their opinions on what they think is going to work because they're the experts in that field. So it's definitely a team effort. It's not just like we're releasing our song on this date, everybody get on board.
Totally.
It's very much a collaboration.
Yeah, just their strategy. Just a heads up, listeners, we have a publicist coming on for the episode following this, probably. Things change, people get busy and stuff like that, but we're tentatively scheduled, so be ready for that. I'm super stoked to do an episode with a publicist.
Yeah,
that will be
great.
All right, so we've got the radio promoter, the publicist. Again, I mentioned Submit Hub. You should be getting on that stuff in advance and figuring out your plan there. What about doing stuff like hiring PR, like Spotify companies and stuff like that?
Like playlisting?
Yeah. What do you think?
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's really tough. It depends on the company. There's a lot of shady Spotify promotion companies out there that, claim that they can.
So far, there's no one we endorse right now, I don't think. So
I haven't seen anything that I've thought is legit. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't say legit because that's not true, but I think there's a lot of shady business that happens there. And I don't think that's a secret. I think there's a lot of stream farming that happens and a lot of business that isn't. And I'm sure there's legit ones too, but I don't know. I just don't have any experience with them. So I can't really say yes or no.
Yeah. What I would say is if that's a strategy you're planning to take, again, get on it in advance.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah. You know what I'm kind of thinking? I think most of it is, like you said, stream farming, but I think it's like a calculated risk that some people are willing to take.
Yeah,
where they
true.
think that boost in numbers is going to trick the algorithm into throwing them some real playlists. Yeah. And maybe that's right. It seems pretty risky to me.
It does. Yeah, that's the thing. It can work. And that's the thing, you get on some editorials maybe, or your algorithmic plays go up, and that's great. But the downside or the risk is so massive if Spotify knows that you're farming streams.
Yeah.
Get
your music removed.
Yeah, they just delete it.
You just don't exist anymore.
That's it. You're done. Yeah, no, I don't know. It's a huge risk and it's just not worth it. Also, you want to earn those streams. You want them to be legit because you want them to be fans. You don't want them to be computers.
No.
That's not going to help you.
Totally.
So
yeah, I think it's kind of like a short-term gambling move. But
yeah.
I mean, if that's your move, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I didn't endorse that. Never mind.
Yeah, no, but I don't have experience with it, and I'm sure maybe some people do,
right?
And maybe they've had success with it. I just think it's very risky, and I would not. It's not something that I would do.
Yeah. Okay. So, anything else under promo campaigns that we should talk about? Nah. All right. Then, obviously, we talked about video and artwork and stuff, but you also want to have that artwork stuff for updating your socials ahead of it, keeping your whole brand on target for Spotify, Instagram, everything.
Yeah, yeah, everything should be cohesive.
Yeah, and I think it depends. Sometimes you want to roll that out ahead of a release. Sometimes it's like all of a sudden there's a change and there's a new, that's been like a cool shock tactic lately.
Yeah,
that can be
clearing out the Instagram and then yeah, that's cool.
Do you know the Rick Rubin thing? How he like posts like a quote and then it's only there for 24 hours. And it's just, there's only ever one tile on his page.
Oh, really?
It's pretty sweet. You have to follow him.
Yeah.
Right?
I do that.
It's cool. That guy's so cool.
Yes, he is. Maybe we should get him on here.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Rick, I know you're probably listening, so hit us up. Hit the boys up.
You know that like recurring dream I've had of us flying to interview podcasts guests around the world.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to subscribe to be our Patreon members, by the way. So Marcus and I can afford first class flights.
No, so we can buy a jet like that.
Oh, yeah. We could just buy a jet. You're right.
Yeah. That's what we're
It's
going
all
for
first
here.
class from there. It's a lot of Patreon subscribers. That would take millions of you.
Or a few that give like $1 million each.
That's not even an option, but we should make it.
Wow.
Anyways, if we get Mr. Rick Rubin, I will fly.
I'll pay for myself. I'll pay for you to
I'm
go
not
there
gonna
too.
buy your ticket. Oh, you'll buy mine. Okay,
wow.
great.
Okay. All right. I guess I'm a nobody.
Good news, Marcus. We got Rick, but I'm going solo because I'm not going to pay for your ticket.
Wow. All right.
All right. Anyways, support us on Patreon so we can fly to see Rick Rubin and pay for our legal fees when he kicks us out of his Shangri-La.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I think up next is now you can finally book a release tour or a release show, maybe if it's just a show.
Yeah.
There doesn't have to be a tour with every single, obviously, or something like that. And, some people aren't touring at all, but now is the time to think about it because all those other assets exist. It's you don't want to do it in the other order, which is really easy to do because everyone wants to get out there and gig. But it's counterproductive if you don't have these assets to promote it and help ensure that those shows and that tour do fantastic. The entire last episode was about generating assets for touring. So just go and listen to the first episode again if you're at this stage.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of putting, I believe they say, the horse in front of the carriage. Is that what they say?
That's what they say.
I don't think that would work. I mean, carriage in front of the horse. Idiot. Wow.
No, you're right. The carriage in front of the horse is...
Yeah, but I said it the other way. I said the horse in front of the carriage. Well, you know
that's
what?
how carriages work, yeah.
Yeah, no, but that's what I meant was if you do it this way, you're putting the horse in front of the carriage, which is what you're supposed to do. That's what I meant. Okay. Anyway, but no, people do want to book the tour first. They say, and I think because it's exciting. You're like, you just want to get out there and do it, but you need to milk every last bit out of a release. Yeah. And so you need to do all these things first. And it really doesn't take that long to do this stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Like this is just like, well, it depends on how big budget I guess you go. But I mean, it's really not like a year of work or anything like that. It's just the stuff you need to do to have a successful tour and release. And these things will also pay dividends down the road.
Definitely.
Because you can reuse them. It's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you were to pull up your calendar and schedule in like a completion date for each one of these, like, okay, each Saturday we're going to knock off one of these things. A couple months, you're done kind of thing.
Totally.
Obviously, you could do it a lot quicker than that as well. And I recommend doing that. Make it a little deadline thing. That's a great way to go. And here's an argument. If you do all those things, you can then use them to shop yourself to an agent and then they book the tour for you.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Just like that.
That'd be better. Okay, yes, you do that. And now you finally choose a release date.
Yes.
With your team. Hopefully through all of this, you've landed yourself a publicist and a radio promoter if you're doing that and an agent. And now you can organize with your team what the hell you're going to do. Yeah.
And the thing is, you can start thinking about the release date early on. Sure. You can start thinking about it when you're doing... you can start thinking about your release date early for sure. But the thing is that we want to drive home is that you can't solidify one before doing all these other steps, right? So like you do want to have an idea of a release date, of course, and you can have a tentative one, but it's when people like set it and announce it, like new single this date. Yeah. And you're like, but you haven't even, you don't have any of these assets. Yeah, I haven't recorded, haven't mixed your song, but you don't have any of these assets and you haven't even spoken to the team yet. So basically we just really want to drive home the point that you need to have all these steps completed before you can actually set and announce a release date. Yeah. Yeah. You totally have a working date. That's great. Again, deadlines are really useful mental tricks pretty much. And it's just, because there's nothing worse for the brand than postponing a release date once you've already announced it. Not good. Yeah. So. Yeah, definitely. As somebody that mixes and masters music for people, this happens all the time. The release date being announced before I've even received the files to work on their song. I'm like, what if I'm busy? And like, you haven't even asked me yet. Yeah. And usually it's really probably quickly after mixing too. Yeah. I've had with, I think 2 weeks was my shortest. Wow. I was like, okay, this release is going to flop. Yeah, but, for sure. Yeah. It's too bad, so just patience. It feels like it has to be now for some reason, but it's just like, it won't matter. Push it a month and like at least a month and you'll be fine. Yeah. Agreed. Cool.
All right. I think that wraps it up. Hopefully you found value in this episode. We appreciate you listening as always. If you want to do us a favor, share it on your Instagram. That has been very helpful for us growing our audience. It helps people in all parts of the world find us, which is great. I had a phone call with Brother Good, Brandon Good. He's a fellow from Alabama on the weekend. So stoked. He's a rad guy, makes killer music. Stoked to work with him. But let's do our Patreon shout out.
Let's do it.
All right. First up, I want to correct a mistake I made last week. Nathan from the band Shed Monkeys. I said Shed Monkeys last week. Oh, God. Here we go. But his band is no longer called Shed Monkeys. They are called Sleep Shake, and they are a great band. They have a new song coming out. Actually, I think it'll be out by the time this episode airs, so you should totally go check it out. I think I've heard it. I heard some of the new stuff, and it was like so crazy good. So if this is one of those songs, dang, sweet. It's very sweet. One of my favorite engineers and producers over in Vancouver, Matty D, is done it. Oh, it's so good. Yeah. So anyways, sorry about that, Nathan. Sleep Shake is your band name. You guys rock. And we also have a new subscriber, Jamie Houston. Victimera. You think I'm saying that right?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Victimera. That is Jamie's band. Jamie is also working at a publicist house.
PR firm?
A PR firm. That's a better way to say that. My God, I'm not doing well today. Thank you for listening again. I don't even think I told people why I'm saying these names.
Yeah, it was a Patreon.
I did? Okay, that's good.
We said we're doing our Patreon shouts.
All right, yes. These are people that subscribe and support us on Patreon. And I talked about that earlier. People are smart enough to figure this out,
you're
right?
fine. You got it.
I only had 1 cup of coffee today. That's my excuse.
I mean, it is only 8:30, so that's probably about right, isn't it? Anyway.
Not from me. Okay. And then we also have Tim Selden from For Fear Itself. We have Carlin from Mulligan. Tay Fantz, who was in here recording vocals yesterday. Rob Elo. Kevin from Supreme Remedy. Graham from Carmana. Lucas from Vogue Villains. Grady from Leather Apron Revival. Ryan from Venom and Spirit. Bernard from the Enrons. Chris Erickson from Scove and also our lovely podcast editor. And Evan Miller of The Wild Romantics. Thank you all very much for the support. We totally appreciate it. And we'll be back with another episode next week. Like I said, it should be a guest episode with the head of a PR firm.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.